Alright, the first thing we're going to look at today are some graphs of some equations. I'm going to graph a linear equation, which means when I plot the points or the solutions of this equation, they are going to make a line. And you've graphed these many times before. This is how we will begin. We'll choose some points for x. Let's say we choose -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Alright, I'm going to take these values for x, which were just randomly chosen by me. I chose some nice values for x that were on my grid, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute those in the equation for y. And I substituted -2 in for x, so 2 times -2 is -4, minus 1 is -5. Then I'm going to substitute in a -1, and that's going to be 2 times -1 is -2, minus 1 is a -3. Then I'll substitute in a 0, and 2 times 0 is 0 minus 1 would be a -1, so I have the coordinate point 0, 1 to go along with my other values. Then I'll substitute in my 1. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1 is 1. And then 2 times 2 minus 1, and that's going to be 4 minus 1 is 3. Now this should be enough points to capture the pattern and where the points lie. I could graph as many points as I want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm going to see what pattern develops and see if I can figure out what it is. And when I do this, they should all fall in a straight line. 2, 3. And they do, and if I plot any more points, they will also fall in this pattern. So there's my first graph, y equals 2x minus 1. The next thing I'm going to graph for you, and we're going to look at the pattern of points for that, would be I'm going to graph an absolute value function. And I think what we'll graph today is the absolute value of x minus 1. And if you've graphed absolute values before, you know that they fall in the pattern of a V. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, is the pattern of the V. If I can figure that out with several points, then I'll go ahead and connect my dots. And you have to plot enough points in order to see the pattern. So I've got the absolute value of -2 minus 1. And that would be -3, take the absolute value, that's 3. -1 minus 1 is going to be -2, take the absolute value, that's 2. Absolute value 0 minus 1 is going to be -1, so that would be 1. Absolute value of 1 minus 1 is going to be 0. And then the absolute value of 2 minus 1. And that's 1. So let's see where we are on our grid. There's -2, 1, 2, 3. -1, 2, and 0, 1. So far I'm just seeing a line, so I'm not sure if I've plotted enough points. We'll have to see. And then 2, 1. There's my V. So I know what this thing will look like, because I've graphed absolute value functions before. So I'm looking for the pattern of points, and there's my pattern of points for y equals absolute value of x minus 1. These points that I've plotted are called solutions to the different equations. So next I'm going to graph x squared minus, let's say, 2. And in this one, I'm going to be looking for a pattern of points that form a shape called a parabola. So I'm going to plot these same points again, and I hope that in plotting these, that I will find a parabola. If not, I'll have to plot more points. Now I'm going to square the entire x. Be cautious here because this is where a lot of students make a mistake. It's the entire quantity squared. I want the entire x squared, and the entire quantity x is negative 2. So I want negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4 minus 2. So that would be 2. Negative 1 quantity squared minus 2 would be 1 minus 2 would be negative 1. And then I've got 0 minus 2, 0 squared, and that would be negative 2. Then I've got 1 squared minus 2, and that would be negative 1 once again. And then I've got 2 quantity squared minus 2, and that would be 4 minus 2 is 2. So I'm going to plot these points and see if I find a parabola. If I do, I know I've got the shape, negative 2, 2. If I don't, then I need to look for more points. At negative 1, I'm at negative 1. And at 0, I'm at negative 2. 1, I'm at negative 1. And at 2, I'm also at 2. Oh, I see my little parabola. So I'm going to draw my little picture. And there's my parabola. And this concludes graphing of equations.